So I'm gonna introduce you to the new cool testing framework from Facebook. They heavily developed it in the last 12 months to a largely awesome state. They call it not even a framework, they call it painless-javascript-testing platform. And why it's platform, I'll show you later. So let's begin. My name is Vad, I work there, but that's not interesting, let's move on. Typically, in my life I set up like hundreds of JavaScript Node.js projects. And typically I use at least 5 modules for testing infrastructure. As just Jacob told, Mocha, Chai, Sinon, Istanbul for coverage, and Proxy-Wire Jacob also showed. So as you can see, typically there are 4 or 5 modules every project I go to. So now all my personal new projects are like this. Just Jest. There it is. It does it all. It does unit tests, assertions, mocks, coverage, whatever, everything. And one of the core philosophies of Jest is to be the zero configuration testing experience. And then Facebook, they find that lazy engineers start actually write more tests when they're using Jest. So if you want to write more tests in your company, just use Jest. All right. So in my typical previous projects, my folder structure looked like this: source folder and the test folder. Test folder largely copied the structure of the source folder. Raise your hand if you do things like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, oh, wait, a lot. Half of the people. I'm not the only one, that's great. The other half of the people either already use Jest, congrats, or just liars. And personally, I find it hard to maintain this folder structure when it gets like 20, 50, 100 files in larger projects. So raise your hand if I'm not the only one. Do you find it hard? Yep. Same amount of people. So Facebook proposes to keep your tests closer to actually files it's testing. As you can see, this API to DB and DB to API are right next to the files it's testing. Same as these 4 files. In large projects, this is hugely beneficial. Jest, by default, looks for all the folders named _tests, and run all just files inside it. So it searches for that folder by default, but it's all, of course, it's configurable. You can have any amount of any types of files and folders. Another little cool feature is that it's off by default. You can turn it on via configuration or code. It can auto-mock a file. So for example, if any of those tests or files will load this DB file, it will actually load that DB file. Nice, neat feature. It also works for NPM modules, like Express in this case, or Node and Build modules as well. Move on. So this is a GIF, and I'm going to pause it. It shows the Jest --watch feature. It will watch for file changes and run tests automatically. So let's run it. The guy runs it, and then boom, a test fails. What he will do now, he will press the P button, which means pattern, and he will type in something. He will type haste-map, and the Jest will automatically run only the files the tests and the files which match, as you can see, the file name. Now this, oh no. Sorry. Let's do it all over. Haste map, enter. Now he will press P and type CLI, and it runs the tests for CLI. As you can see, that folder contains CLI tests, and one file, namely this one, have the CLI in the file name, so it will run it as well. And now the guy will run P and type messages, and he will run the test which have just failed. That one, as you can see, messages. Now, you don't see it, but in the other console, he will go and fix that test, and it will automatically rerun and pass. Boom, it's done. That's the end of the video. Move on. That's just a cool, neat feature. I'll show you it live later. Jest is really, really fast. Just like Ava, Jest runs the test in a parallel to speed up, to minimize the runtime. Also, it runs the previously failed tests the first. It caches it somewhere. Also, it automatically can find tests related to the files you have just changed and run them. And I'll quickly demonstrate that. For example, I have this file called, where is it? Function, there it is. I'll see the usages of it. There are actually two, 1 and 2. Yeah, let me zoom, sorry. View. I'm not sure if it'll, I cannot zoom.
Press Command plus. Do it.
Doesn't work. I tried it. Now let's, you just trust me. So, on the right, I will run just -- watch, as you have just seen. I will press the button O, means run only tests which are related. And then I'll change this function, and it will run 2 files. According to the search I just did, there are only 2 files which are related. These 2, doesn't matter. So let me edit the file, I save it, boom, just runs the 2 tests on the right. This is how amazing it is. And this is especially beneficial in larger projects. When you have lots of files, lots of dependencies, and you just change one test and one file, and it will test everything dependent on it. I find it neat and time saving. I don't need to rerun my whole test suite every bloody time. Alright, moving on. Jest introduces few global variables, these, and as I said, it provides the assertion library. It's really familiar to the people who use Chai, namely the expect keyword. So it introduces the global keyword called expect, which you can use to do your assertions. Moving on. Also, Jest have integrated mocks and spies, just like Sinon does. So you can create a spy or mock object using jest.fn and do regular stuff with your mock object or function. Yeah, that's about it. Nothing else to say. The replacement for Sinon. Now, Jest is really smart. It supports any compile to Jest languages and seamlessly integrates with Babel. So to integrate your tests with Babel, the only thing you actually need to do is to run npm install Babel Jest. That's it. That's like literally done. Jest will take a look if you have this module installed, and if you have it, it will just use it and compile your ECMAScript 6 to whatever and run it. And I'll show you that later. Moving on. By default, you can run jest dash coverage, and it will output you this coverage report. By default, it outputs only the text coverage, but you can set up also HTML coverage through configuration. That is actually the only configuration I do in my projects. So let me demonstrate that to you. I even can zoom this in. There it is. So this is my package JSON. I will insert a few lines of code, jest, coverage reporters. By default, it's only text. I add on also the HTML. What I will do, I will run jest dash coverage. Oh, shoot. Coverage. I press enter. It will output. Oh, wait a second. That's not beautiful. That is it. That is it. It will show me that, oh my god, I have one file not covered. And also I can open the coverage report inside this magnificent application called Firefox. Just a second. There it is. That's my coverage report. That's how easy it is to make, to receive a coverage report. Now let's exercise a little bit. Inside this folder called is, I have this file called plain object. It's not covered at all. So what I'm gonna do, I will run, watch my hands, jest dash coverage dash watch, and it will work. I will run A. It says press A to run all tests. So I'll make sure that every time I run all the tests. And this is the best part for myself. I have never been able to run any testing framework both with coverage and watch features working together. Maybe I'm just not smart enough, but with Jest is like a breathe, like you do nothing to have it. So let me cover this file. I have the unit test prepared. Here it is. I'm making the change. As soon as I rename the file name, look at the right side. Boom! Auto watch. The file is covered. Now I'll go to my Firefox. I will refresh the page. Boom! This thing is covered. And this, how magical it is. You do nothing. You do nothing to have watch and coverage together. This is just amazing. I will rename it back. And boom, it's not covered again. I refreshed it, it's not covered. Moving on. Coverage threshold. This is just one of the configuration options. You can configure the coverage threshold, and Jest will fail your tests, the test run, if the coverage threshold does not meet a certain value, like say 90% or whatever. Also, Jest have module mocking inbuilt, just like proxy-quire thing, but inbuilt into the Jest. So in here, Jest mocks this module, and if it ever loads, it will return that thing, and that thing is my spy object. So as you can see, next line I load the module, and then I run it, and I get this 42 value. No proxy-quire required. And also, it's got jest.reset modules. As you can see, I'm loading the React module, then reset modules, and load React again, and these will be two separate copies of the same module, if I want. Let's move on. Error messages are helpful, visual, colorful, bright, and they provide the minimum information necessary in this beautiful way. It doesn't show you the whole stack trace, only the related stack trace to your source code, just like many testing frameworks do right now, actually. Moving on. It have integrated timer mocks. Xenon can mock your timer, as you know, Xenon module. Just have it in build. In this case, I'm loading kind of a timer game from some file. Then I'm creating this Py function called callback. Then I call this timer game with my callback. Then, because the time is frozen at this moment of time, I'm checking how many times my callback was called. It wasn't. Then I unfreeze time, just like Neo in Matrix, and run all the timers, and expect that my callback was called exactly once. And this is all works in build. Work in build. By default, Jest actually runs all your tests in the so-called JS DOM environment. If you don't know what JS DOM is, it's an implementation of a browser inside Node. So the test would think it runs inside a browser, but actually it's a Node.js process. You can also configure it to run in the Node environment, but I personally have never used Node environment. JS DOM by default is perfectly fine for me. Maybe in the future, I don't know. We'll see. Snapshot testing. This is an amazing feature sometimes. 3 years ago, I was writing a tool which converts a JSON object to a special string. And I wish this feature existed at that time. So here, pay attention. Convert DB from DB to API, and then I serialize the data and check that serialized data actually match something. Let me tell you what it is. So you write this test, then you run the command jest-u. What it will do, it will actually not run the test. It will serialize that data to the disk, to file system, to the folder called __ snapshot. And then it will save those snapshots. You can commit them to Git or whatever. If you run Jest without the -u, it will run test as normal. What it will do, it will get this serialized data. It will load the previously saved snapshot from the file system and match it to this, whatever it is. This is really useful if you're writing conversion of something to something, and just that's why Jest is so much popular between React developers, because they do this rendering thing called React DOM or whatever. It's really handy there, and really handy for something which converts something to some other thing. It's like really powerful feature, but rarely used by Node developers, maybe by front-end developers. It's more useful. Move on. Other cool features. Every file runs in a sandboxed environment, similar to how Ava does it. It resets the global state for every individual file. So if your test1 changes global variable, test2 changes global variable, they don't see each other changes. Also, it have integrated support for promises and async await, just like all the other testing frameworks. And then the console log feature. Time to demonstrate. So I have this method called merge. Let me run my tests. There it is. Just run some tests. What I'll do, I will insert console log 111. I hope you see it. No, you don't see it. So I have just inserted console log 111, and then I'm gonna run my tests again, Jest. boom, it prints every time I do a console log, it prints the file I did it from and the line number and the actual output. So if you like to debug using console log, this is really helpful. Sometimes you cannot attach a debugger for some bloody reason. But this is a really cool feature if you like to debug with console log. You just insert console logs with anything anywhere and it will tell you where you have inserted your console log. Moving on. Jest love React. It works brilliantly out of the box with any React project. It is a default testing framework for React Native and Create React app. You like the GIF, right? I can wait. Yeah, it's so cute. I saw it hundreds of times, but it's still love it. Okay, this is all the configuration options out there in the Jest. I already told you about coverage, reporters, coverage threshold. Let me demo you one more feature called notification. Notify, that one. It's a Boolean. So let us go to the same code base. Oh wait, no. There it is. Package.json. This is my Jest configuration. I will insert notify as you saw, and it says it's Boolean, then it will be true. I'll save it and run Jest. Ah, shit. Sorry. We'll run Jest. Oh, come on. Notify true. So what am I doing wrong? Notify. Shit. It's not working today. Demo gods. Let's move on. Let's compare Jest versus Ava. About half a year ago, there was a brilliant talk here about Ava, super testing framework from the future. The talk was great, the Ava was great. However, I tried Ava in a couple of my projects. I couldn't configure Ava the way I wanted it. I couldn't easily configure the watch feature, I couldn't configure coverage feature, I couldn't easily configure it to test my tests, not run everything out there. Basically, I spent a few hours trying to integrate Ava to my project. I wasted them and I decided that Ava is not the way I want to go to. Just because it's too painful to inbuild it into my project. With Jest, I had literally zero configuration to have it all, everything listed on the left. So Ava is great. It is still more popular than Jest. I'm not finding it easy to use though. Yeah, my recommendation is between those two, try Jest first. Let's move on. Oh, demo time. Let's hope demo gods will not fail me this time. Jest-code modes is the tool which automatically converts your existing unit tests, like tape, Ava, or modcar, to Jest. And let me show you on this project called Stampit. It's not that many people know what Stampit actually is. Okay. I will run Jest-code modes. That's it. It will ask me what I'm using right now. Stampede is currently using tape. So I will select tape. Then it will ask me, where are your tests located? And by default, it will look at the test folder, and that's exactly where they are located. So I press enter. It's just a coincidence. Now it converts my tests. Boom. It converted with 0 errors. Awesome. Now let's try running it. Jest. Oh wait, now I need to, well, by default it will look for _ tests folder. Alright, no worries. Let's rename it. Tests. Done. Running it again. Boom, it runs. Oh! All of them failed. Oh, right. Unexpected token import. This means it doesn't know what import is. Yeah, I need to install Babel Jest. You remember? Babel Jest in the beginning. So npm install not this one. Babel Jest. Wait for half an hour because it's npm.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Wi-Fi. What's the Wi-Fi password? What's the Wi-Fi password? What? Guessed? Will it work? That's it? Still going. There it is. Okay, try it again. Demo gods. Wow. Yeah, npm. Boom, done. Okay, running Jest. And it runs, boom! Couple of seconds. It took less than 2 seconds. And as you can see, most of my tests passing, almost all of them, except for the 3 test suites and 1 test. A majority of work was done by this magnificent module. I didn't waste much time except for connecting to the bloody Wi-Fi. It was cool. So, if you or your company are looking for a way to unify unit testing across your JavaScript projects, then Jest is the right way to go. It have everything inbuilt, it have its own standards, it works out of the box. It's painless. It's really, really painless. And I understand why Facebook wrote their own testing framework. Finita, that's it. Thank you. Questions?
Sorry, okay, so Jest sounds really good. And we've heard a lot of good things about it. What are some of the problems you've run into it? What things like assumptions it's made that have caused you problems, or just stuff you've hit? I'm kind of curious either way.
For a few months I'm using it. I really didn't have much trouble with it. Maybe a little bit new thing was to me is the expect API. Because instead of the commonly known to equal, they're using to be, which does the triple equal reference equals, and the actual expect.toEqual does the deep equal. That's the only actual thing I didn't quite like in it, but everything else is just perfect. Really perfect, no troubles whatsoever yet.
So how easy is it to configure it so that it can run on multiple different browsers or integrate with SourceLab?
It does not run anything in browsers at all, and Facebook are not even looking to do that. Although they are using it for browser testing mainly, they think it will be just a user's job to actually run Jest in browsers, in actual browsers, and I don't know why. Well, I know why they had an explanation saying that it's not worth its time because they're using React only. So for Backbone or maybe Ember projects, it might not work brilliantly. So yeah, no browser.
So is there a reason why you don't use snapshot testing for all your pure functions?
Snapshot is mainly for object or string comparison.
Yeah, but if you return something, you can save it to a snapshot.
Yeah, I don't have
Would it
that.
change?
I don't have that kind of projects yet. I will definitely use snapshots, 100%.